Hey, how's it going, everybody? Thanks for joining us for another Church of True Christ Sunday ministry. So we are recording this on Friday, so like we did with a few shows ago, we did a pre-recorded show, but it will be airing on Sunday because, it is Father's Day today. And, everybody's going to be off with their families doing, stuff with the fathers and the kids and all of that. So we are doing this ahead of time for everybody here tonight. And we want to wish you all a happy Father's Day. We want to give props to all the good dads out there, who are doing the right thing and, walking with Christ and the divine in their lives and imparting that into their life, embodying those principles with their families and their community. You guys rock. I can't give you enough props for that. That is awesome. So nonetheless, if you all do not mind, let's bow our heads for the direct from Aramaic translation, Our Father prayer. Oh, birther, father, mother of the cosmos, you create all that moves in light. Focus your light within us, make it useful, as the rays of a beacon show the way. Unite our eye can to yours, so that we walk as kings and queens with every creature. Create in me divine cooperation from many selves, one voice, one action. Grant what we need each day in bread and insight. Forgive our hidden past and the secret shames as we consistently forgive what others hide. Deceive neither by the outer nor the inner. Free us to walk your path with joy. From you is born all ruling will, the power and life to do. The song that beautifies all, from age to age it renews. Amen. All right. So we have, thank you. So we have another guest on tonight. Some of you who have been watching me and Dyanna for a while, and the rest of the spiritual panel that we have on X probably know Rockelle. She has made some appearances on the spiritual panels. She has also been on Dyanna's show, Transcending Ascension, and she will be coming on my show soon. So we thought maybe this would be a great idea to sit down with Rockelle tonight and kind of like pick her brain a little bit on the topics of Christ and the divine. So Rockelle, if you don't mind, let's get your perspective on what you feel true Christ is.
Oh gosh, I love this question. Well, first, I want to ask you a question.
Okay.
Do you see the Christ within me?
Absolutely.
Okay. That's like my new thing is like when someone asks, do you believe in Jesus or do you believe in Christ? Like, well, what do you see when you look at me? Because to me, like Christ is the breath, the body here experiencing all of this, like the divine, right? Like as we walk through this beautiful realm, the more connected we are to all of the elements, right? Like nature, the wind, fire, water, the birds, the bees, the trees, like that to me is like the divine. That's how like creator talks to us. And I feel like when Jesus walked the planet, like that's what he would do is like move through towns and whoever wanted to hear his message would hear it, right? They would listen, just like whoever wants to hear our message today will listen to it, embody it. But whoever doesn't want to hear it, he would leave. He would just move through the towns, right? Like he's like, okay, well, I'm on to the next, like whoever wants to hear this message. And I kind of feel like that's what we're doing now. Like we are like fractals of the Christ, the Christos, whatever you want to call it, like here experiencing and like showing people in duality what you truly are, because you can get so lost in the matrix, right? And you forget who you are and you're just a robot and you're just making money, paying your bills, taking the kids to school. And it's like you don't ever stop and breathe. And to me, like the breath is Christ. Like that's what brings you back to the now, here now.
Heck yeah, I dig it, and I actually kind of want to pull up a quote from somebody on X, or I'm not going to pull it up, I'm just going to say it, but for those of you who know the Fourth Way over on X, I had Tyler on my show back in season 2. He's a great guy, but he made a post the other day and I just had to comment. I was like, dude, you hit the nail on the head like 100%. And the post was literally this: plot twist, we are the second coming of Christ. And and I was like,
oh, yeah, that was obvious. Yeah, for sure.
It definitely starts. It's amazing to see that. We see a lot of people kind of, it's starting to register with everybody. That it's not going to be the return of just a solo individual. embodying the alignment of Christ within them. It's going to be a whole collective of people.
Mhm.
We've spoken about this on the show a lot before, but it's a point that's worth repeating, because I think a lot of people, they still get, even people in our community, they still get caught up in that dogmatic thinking, thinking there's going to be this one solo person who's going to come back, the savior complex, and we know that Christ truly is an eternal savior. Christ shows us we can save ourselves, that we have the ability and we have that divine light, that power within us to save ourselves. So I just wanted to bring that up and get this conversation rolling. So Dyanna, what are your thoughts on what Rockelle said about her?
Yeah, well, I think it's completely obvious. And I think that Jesus, because when I read the Bible, that's what I saw. Just like when I read the Old Testament, I saw witchcraft. And when I read Jesus, the New Testament, I saw especially Jesus's parts, which are paraphrased, but it's still Jesus, closer than the stuff Paul said. Because when Jesus talked, he said, the kingdom of heaven is within. Right? He said all kinds of things. For those that have ears to hear, let them hear. He talks about the seeds, those planted in the thorns, those planted in fertile soil. He talks so much about it, just so obviously pointed to us being the Christ and that resurrection, greater things than I shall you do. And there's just, why would he say that if we weren't Christed? Why would he say that? And because the term Christ didn't seem to even be a thing there. They call him Jesus the Christ. So like, if you notice, they mention the whole time, they don't say Jesus Christ like that's his last name. Like people talk about it now. No, he's saying Jesus the Christ every time he's written about. Exactly, because he's at Christ, greater things than I shall you do. So it's just so obvious, which funny, because it brings me to a point that I actually thought of last week, and then it kind of left and it came back this week. The whole bow your head to pray. Well, even when I was in church, I felt resistance to it. I didn't know if it was my rebellious nature, because like the bowing is, that's like you're lower, I'm higher, that kind of thing. And then it truly doesn't make sense that we bow our head, because what do you do in meditation? What do you do when you're trying to connect the spirit to the highest source? You straighten and align the spine. It shouldn't be bow your head. It should be shoulders back, like align. Absolutely. Because that's when we're going to get that connection, just like two chords, right? If they're kinked, it's not going to get the right connection. If you straighten it out, you're getting more energy flowing through that system.
Oh, yeah. Oh, totally. Like, I agree. It's just another way to steal our power, right? Like, bow your head, kneel, like, you're below me. It's not true.
Absolutely. And, and that's, we see a lot of these power grabs in the modern church, the focus on the exoteric. And I mean, we've talked about the balance of the esoteric and the exoteric on this show before, and you can explore the esoteric, with a strong foundation in the esoteric, but to completely shuffle the focus and push it into the exoteric, everything that's existential, not existential, but exoteric on the outside of us, focusing outward again, that's something we've been conditioned in this world to do since we were born, where we hop in, we put on, these human suits, we hop into this world. As soon as you get out of the womb, you are blessed with a name, you're blessed with a classification, you're blessed with all of this, and you're constantly seeking outside of yourself for love, validation, the answers to the bigger questions in life. So we constantly see this in the church, and this is something that we're trying to correct the balance in. The other thing that I can't say enough, I want to just crush the image that Christ was this perfect goody two shoes. We know that Christ was a rebel. Christ was a revealer. You know what I mean? He was an awakener. He meant to shake things up, like he was shaking up the foundations of the religious control structures at that time. He was shaking up the structures of the government control structures at that time too. This is why, we know that the Romans and the Jews kind of teamed up back then, and they were like, listen, this guy's telling everybody that the divine is within them. This guy's telling everybody you don't need a medium for the divine, so there goes our jobs and things like that. So eventually that's what ended up happening. But we don't want people to shy away from that rebellious awakening energy that's within them. because ultimately that's true Christ. I mean, one of the biggest reasons we found our foundation in Christ and the divine is because something, I can't use this term enough, but something came along that offended us at a soul level about this reality. There was a realization, there was a remembrance that offended us deeply at a soul level that brought forth that divine spark in us. So ultimately, yes, Rockelle, I just wanted to say that I do agree with your definition of Christ, because you almost spoke as if Christ is a layer of reality. It is an aspect of this reality. And that's something that me and Dyanna really do think here, that Christ has been around since the beginning of creation.
It's still here. I think it's just we kind of got lost in the sauce, right? Like whatever this overlay is that's on us that like pulled us out of the forest, right? Where we have pure connection to everything. We got lured out, right? Like I don't know by what or what beings, like I don't really know what happened. Like that piece of, history has been so, we've been lied to about everything. So whenever we got pulled out, that's when we broke our connection, because I really do believe that it's all really here, like right now. But because we live certain ways, it's hard to like tap into it because of the programming and stuff. But people like us, like we're the ones who are breaking through the illusions. Like that post I made the other day was like about, and I don't know if y'all are seeing this, like almost like little black wormholes, like in our vision. Like I'm seeing little holes, like just little tiny holes. And I was trying to find a perfect meme or something for it. I was thinking about Spider-Verse, the cartoon version with the black kid. It's such a good one. I don't remember what it's called, but in that one you can kind of see how it pixelates and the illusion starts to go away. Well, we're starting to break down the illusion because our true illusion is nature. But then we got this overlay that we're supposed to have all this stuff that we're creating, like houses and boxes. And so I really do believe that it's all here. We just kind of have to like go back into nature. You know what I mean? Like we have to like kind of retreat back instead of like being pulled out of nature. So the more we go back, we start to connect with all the birds, right? All the trees, all the wind. As we acknowledge them, we give them their I am awareness. And then we start connecting to the universe. Because if we're the universe in this body experiencing, that's Christ right in here. It's like inside out. Like we're inside, but we're experiencing the outside. So I kind of been trying to just like slow down and go back, like kind of go back to like, watering the flowers, hanging out in the trees, talking to the trees, and making a conscious effort to do that. And you have to like, get away from people. You have to like kind of like be alone a little bit, like Christ. Like he was missing. How many years was he missing, guys? That they left out of the Bible?
It was
13 to 30. So whatever math is.
18, 11, 18. What was it? It was 18 to 17 years. Some reports say 12. Some reports say 13.
Yep.
But we've talked about that on this show briefly. But yeah, it's actually, this is one of the biggest things that a lot of modern Christians have a hard time understanding, because we didn't get a chance to touch on it that one time. Where we talk about why was Jesus was Jesus recognized as a Kriya Yoga master at the Yogananda Institute, and this is the thing that I just don't jive with. A lot of people want to say that's heresy. A lot of people want to say that that's simply not true. That's a lie. I mean, like, let's take a look at these individuals. You look at like Kriya Yoga practitioners, and you look at, the whole history of, Vedic origin and things like that too. You're dealing with people who are very tapped into the divine, have their integrity intact about them. I mean, you look at Yogananda himself. He was a man of integrity. He was not a corrupt guru at all. We look at a lot of gurus throughout the ages, and some of them have had their issues. I mean, even people have weird things to say about Yogi Bhajan, who's actually one of the forefathers of Kundalini Yoga. But, there's even texts that state that Mahatma Babaji, who is the original sage who created Kriya Yoga, actually worked with Jesus, actually spoke with Jesus. And he would speak about how Jesus meditated. He said Jesus meditated with love and only love, and this is what he would say. And I mean, you go and look. There are a lot of mosaics and depictions of a man throughout a lot of the Eastern civilization. I mean, even in India, even in Tibet, of a Caucasian man who resembled Jesus, like very much so, you know. So like, I mean, just even answering that question, what you were saying, Rockelle, where did he go? Where did he stay? I mean, I'm in the camp that I think that he did travel out east. I think he did learn from a lot of the Eastern spiritualities out there, and took something from that and brought it back to show everybody. I mean, what do you think, Dyanna?
Yeah, 100%. I know he went out east because there's a church that was created before he died. So, you know,
Ooh.
that's kind of proof. And, you know, assuming they're telling the truth, but, you know, I believe them. And then there's other records, and this one I'm not so sure about because it's also said that the Druids were from Atlantis. But there's rumors, and the Druids predate Jesus to a point. But that Jesus, after going out east, he had a rich uncle, and this is how he was able to travel so much. And there's apparently documentation on it, but it's hearsay because I didn't read the documentation myself, so I'm just having to believe this person. But that he went to Scotland, and that he spent time in Scotland itself, and Scotland's said to be extremely believe because
There we go.
because when you enlighten, like Billy Carson says, you can't fully enlighten unless you start traveling the world. And we know Sarah's traveling the world, and we know Matthias De Stefano travels the world. And this is one of my goals that I try to manifest, is traveling the world. And because you travel through all the grids, you need to touch all the energy points.
Yeah,
and in
the ley
Scotland,
lines.
there's major energy points in England itself. So one can believe that he went through it, and everything Jesus did. Like, it came to me when you were talking about the fourth way guy, but it's not to do with that, but or maybe in the fourth way teachings, that's quite likely the point they get you to. But Jesus is breaking the fourth wall, because in this reality, and Carl Jung would teach this, and Caroline Myss would teach this, that it's all archetypes. Right? It's all archetypes. We are all archetypes, and those are coming from the fourth dimension. All your Greek gods and your Roman gods and your Nordic gods, they're all archetypes, right? And they get interchanged. If you write a book, you created a character. And sometimes people make really bland characters that are specifically just that archetype. And sometimes people write complex characters like us, and it's a mix of a ton of archetypes. And that's where tarot comes in, because they map out those archetypes for us and can help us unpack them. But Jesus held no archetype. The Christ energy is not just simply an archetype, because there is archetypes of the mystic, the sage, the shaman. They all hold their different variations on an archetype. And when you sign on for that path, you're going to sign on for those lessons. And then some say, like, there's no choice in the matter. You have certain archetypes that are yours. You are absolute.
All right, so she was talking about certain archetypes. I'm going to hold that space for her because I know she will be back soon. But it's very interesting though what she's saying though, because she's absolutely right. Up there you go. So you were on archetypes.
Yeah. So I just sum it up by saying, like, what Jesus does in that Christ energy is it breaks the fourth wall. It breaks that fourth wall, like in TV when the character talks to the audience and all of a sudden becomes like, and you're one with that higher source, because you break the fourth wall. All of a sudden, all the archetypes don't matter. And this is how we can also transcend the lessons of them faster, because a lot of our reincarnation cycles are due to the unfinished storylines of these archetypes, because we're supposed to go through every single one in every single way. And you could do multiple in one life. This is why you want to be a complex person to a large degree. You want to have it all within you. This is why I love reading, because it downloads me with all these different personalities to see their story. And some of them just like dissolve instantly. Some of them have something to be lived out. Some of them are the major theme to be lived out. But regardless of that, when you connect to that Christ energy, you do seem to just dissolve the webs of all the archetypes. Not that I can stay in Christ energy 24/7, but it's 100% always part of the back pocket. It's never 100% gone. It is that higher self. Like you guys were saying earlier, what made us snap out of it? I think it was Christ, because I viscerally had it actually be Christ that would come to me as a raised atheist to pull me out, to take me that step further, to take me that step further. But a lot of us, especially because society is made to knock us out of that, right? Because everything as a part of the game, you can bring Christ into it, but it's not necessarily of Christ. Because Christ is just so pure, pure love, pure. I was even wrote pureness without dogma. Like that's pureness without dogma.
Yeah.
And then you are
Yep.
in that middle zone.
Oh my God, that's beautiful. I love that, Dyanna. And I love what you said, the archetypes, because what does the system do? It tries to create you into something. Like, oh, what do you want to be? A doctor. What do you want to be? A police officer. Oh, what do you want to be? A teacher. Like it tries to like put you in a box or, you know, in a category to be something when, well, what if I'm like everything? Right? Like, what if I can embody everything? What if I can be everything? And I think once you tap in and remember like the crisis within, that's why the little wormholes are starting to appear, because I am like tapping in and I'm starting to be able to realize like, oh my God, the more pure I become, the more I actually get all the knowingness. The universe is trusting me. Christ, all that is, the I am, that, you know, is giving it to me. Like, okay, Rockelle, I'm going to actually now let you do this, and you're going to know this, and you're going to get this answer like that, or this is going to happen. But it to me, it's like, it's almost like it's the most purest things, right? Like, it's like not like the weird material things. It's like the bird will show up like right here. It might land in the frame, you know, to be like, hey guys, you know what
Or
I
the
mean?
cat,
It's like
like
stuff,
last time.
or the cat, like last time, yeah. And they want to be around us because they have the I am awareness now, because I'm actually now like actually really connecting to them, you know? So once you tap into that, you can't, like, now we know, right? Like you can't unknow it. Like, oh, okay, that energy is in me. Okay, that's the Kundalini. That's that energy that builds up in my chest right now because of what's happening out there. That's the energy in my throat. That's the energy down in my, you know, sacral, like, or, you know, whatever. Like, it's like, whoo, we got to move it. We got to play around with it. We got to like shift it. And the church does not want you to know that. That's the thing, because that's your power.
Absolutely not. No. And one thing I want to touch on, a couple things you both said. So, you know, the Christ and the archetypes, Christ dissolving the archetypes. I completely agree with that. I also think too that when you have that foundation of Christ within you, you get to control the archetypes at that point, you know, because ultimately we have, you know, the fourth density exists within us. All of these higher frequencies exist within us already. And, you know, we've talked about the symbolism of our bodies to the divine as well. So that's even solidifying the fact that these archetypes do also indeed exist within us. And when we find that foundation in Christ, we now control these archetypes. You know, we can utilize them, we can learn from them. No, we are not no longer subjected to them in a state of unawareness. You know, we actually gain that state of awareness, and we can work with these archetypes. We can illuminate them, we can transmute them. You know, we can actually have them work for us. And the other cool thing, how you guys were saying Christ, you know, Christ was the one that pulled us out of this. Well, I don't know if I brought this up on the show before. I think I might have, but if I haven't, let me know. But when we look at the secret book of John, the Gnostic version of the creation story, so who actually freed Adam and Eve from the false unity consciousness in the Garden of Eden? It was Christ. You know, Christ, the energy of Christ actually came down and told Adam and Eve to eat from the tree because it will free you. It will, you know, it will get you out of where you were at. And of course, at that point in time, you know, we experienced a quote unquote fall, but you know, but when we look at this fall wasn't necessarily a bad fall, because the consciousness that we were in this Garden of Eden, it was a false unity consciousness. According to the secret book of John, it was due to the demiurge Yaldabaoth, who actually pulled the true Adam and Eve out of the heavenly realms, brought them down here to this planet, and ended up making these earthly Adam and Eves. But then the ions and the pleroma and the angels actually came down, made an agreement with Yaldabaoth and breathed the divine spark into these two earthly Adam and Eves, or, you know, the Adam and Eve. So that's interesting that you both even touched on that and brought that up, because, you know, when we look at that other version of the creation story, we look at the other version of Genesis, you know, they talk about how it was Christ that came down, and we see that it was Satan in the canonical text. And Dyanna and I have even talked about the Trinity of Christ, Lucifer, and Satan as well. So it's almost as if, you know, of course, you know, the modern church, all of that wanted to come in and be like, you know, we can't tell everybody that Christ had them eat from the tree. And we can't do that, because how's that going to make our side of the story look? How's this going to make everything we're trying to relay look? So I wanted to throw that in there. And what you were saying about the animals too, I want to throw in something really quick, a little tidbit. The animals are evolving. They are. You know, actually, I was watching something about how stray dogs know how to wait at a bus stop now. They know the exact time that the bus shows up, and the bus will show up. They will get on the bus, and they will pick a seat, and they will ride the bus to the location that they're trying to get. I'm a dog owner, so I love this. You know, I'm like looking at this, and I'm like, this is so cool. But you know, the animals are evolving too, so it's like that's something to think about too, because you were saying about like the I am awareness, and maybe that's something due to us and our interactions with us, that now the animals are starting to kind of gain within themselves. So I just want to throw that little tidbit in there. But you know, as far as the archetypes go, yes, when you walk with Christ and you have a foundation of Christ, you transmute them, you know, and that's the biggest thing too, is that Christ will show you that you are a slave to nothing. You know, you are not held down. You have that personal sovereignty. You have that personal agency about you to you know, walk through this life in a free, joyful, abundant way, because that's ultimately what the divine wants, you know. And we've spoken about this on the show before. Christ didn't want worship. The divine does not want worship. You know, and there's even people who thought Buddha wanted worship, and we know that most certainly is not the case. So Christ ultimately wants you to be authentically you, you know, wants you to live in that foundation of its energy, his energy, and to, you know, lead by example and showcase that energy in every action, every intention, every move that you make, transmuting that light of Christ into this world. So Dyanna, what are your thoughts?
Well, just that Christ isn't a he. Christ is gold. Gold is
exactly
the two mixed together. Christ is androgynous, and that's why Jesus is often shown as androgynous. It is the child, the Heros Gamos. Yeah, Christ is the both. And
that's a force of habit on
alchemy.
My part. I'm so used to refer. Yeah. So
no, it's true, and I do it too. Because he is
too.
just. Yeah, it's the natural first thing to say, and I'm sure Jesus obviously was a dude, but yeah, that's a side point. But I was gonna say is I want to unpack the creation story a little bit there, because I just want to say, because there's debates over, and again, that was one of the first questions I asked you on the thing, if it was Lucifer or Christ. But I think in everything I've heard in all the many variations, it was certainly not Satan, which is who they say it is. It was certainly not Satan. It was either Lucifer or Christ. And that's just my personal opinion, just given all the stories we've read. It just doesn't make sense that Satan would do that, because Satan is the demiurge. Satan is the one trying to create that. Satan is Saturn, right? Like Satan's or Kronos, people even say. So, or all of the same, they could be, you know, how that ends up looking when it comes to the complications of what their energy streams are is a lot. And then when it comes to creation story, I don't buy into obviously Adam and Eve necessarily, though I wouldn't like put my life on it or anything. But when it talks about the fall and the apple, and this is something I learned early on, it's on Gaia. If you take, I think it's Teresa Bullart's program, which Sarah took over. It's one of her first episodes. I might be wrong on that though, because it's been a while. But the apple, if you cut it in half and shine like a
all right, so the apple, and if you cut it in half, so we'll hold her off on that. But no, I mean it's interesting, because that creation story, the Secret Book of John creation story. There you go. So you're talking about the apple. You cut it in half.
Cut it in half.
Perfect. Okay, good. You cut it in half and you shine through, and you can see the ancient Hebrew letters. And there's just so much in the apple. It's also the Taurus, which we know is our energy.
Yep.
The actual apple. Yeah, exactly. Just like in Chinese medicine, how like to cure an organ, you eat that fruit, like it's always handed to us in nature. Well, the apple was literally it is the wisdom fruit, like with what it did. And for all we know, if we eat it, we might get codes, like who knows with how that goes. And then the fall, I always see, I don't know how, like, because there's so many fall stories, and the way the law of rhythm works is we probably have many. I would say our specific human story, the fall, is something to do with Atlantis or however that looked, and then the flood of Noah, because the Grand Canyon is proof that story was real, not to mention tons of other archaeological and geometric ways they can prove that the flood of Noah was very real. So then, because it killed off so many humans, and then would have left us in imagine the trauma from that. What happens when this human is in survival and in trauma? They go to their baser instincts. We would return not quite to caveman, but very close. All the writings would have been washed away. So you would forget how to read and write because you didn't have time to learn that. You were busy surviving. All the food, all the world was gone. And if it was the Atlantean version, then all of the main intelligent people were gone. And apparently they had, like, we know Egypt was one of them. They talk about the Incans and the Mayans. I think the Mayans for sure were their own thing. So, but that doesn't matter. They might have already been gone when that happened, is the story I believe on the Mayans. But there was other stations, which again, Graham Hancock had like shown these ancient structures that clearly used to exist. So anyways, there's this, all our history just washed away in a fall, where we fell because it was gone. Like, even they talk about if that happened, we all thought about the zombie apocalypse. What do the movies always show us doing? Just surviving, because that's all there's time to do. And then you start building it back up, and we're still in that process from what they did, and who knows why, really, because there's so many versions.
Yeah, and I've also heard that, like, so whenever our planet or plane or whatever we're in goes through the photon belt, they want to be, whoever these beings are, they want to be in charge. They have to have us like batten down the hatches. We got to have humanity under control. And that's when they do their resets and their wipeouts and the floods or whatever, and they use frequency to do that and create it. But it's because we start to remember who we are when we move through these certain, like, galactic, photon belts and stuff. The Christ starts to awaken. We come out of our amnesia because we're so naive, right? We're just pure little creator beings that just wants to create. So we get tricked very easily. But when we're moving through these galactic energies, they know that, okay, they're about to awaken and remember who they are. We got to get them under control. And that's when they do the resets. So I don't even know if the Adam and Eve story is even real. Like you said, like, I think it kind of was created to divide the masculine and the feminine energy, because a lot of people believe, like, it's all Eve's fault that tricked Adam into eating the apple, and then the fall of humanity happened, right? That's what they teach in church. So there's people walking around that actually hate women because of that. So then you get this divide, right? It's like, so
this gets darker. Did you know the movie Carrie? And I read the book. I love that book, Carrie, by Stephen King, because he's definitely a channel for something. But this is a true thing that he put out there. There's a religion that, like, vilifies Eve even more. And there's like a specific book or something. The book mentions this. The movie didn't show it. She talks all crazy in the movie, but the book explains it. There's a book specifically going on, detailed, explaining all the suffering women deserve, all the horrible things because of the curse of Eve was the book. And she quote it and read it to Carrie all the time. Like, and it drove her crazy, the mom. So yeah, I just want to add that because that's so true.
Yeah, well, and you see what happens in these other countries, like the women, they can't show their skin, they can't, sit at the table with a man, they can't, you know what I mean? Like, so there is like this suppressed, they're suppressing the feminine energy big time, which suppresses it in them also. But I think it was all designed purposely. Like, I think they strategically knew that they could put these stories and then people would adapt it and believe it and then hate on each other. Basically, it's all about dividing. Like, if we are in a black hole that's like divided with duality, so we got both energies coming, on this planet, like we're Club Med, right? Like, we get to experience everything. Like, they knew that they could divide us even more because of duality. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
absolutely.
Yeah, because by
Mhm.
keeping the female down, the female's the one that can naturally, intuitively pull in that information. So if you
Mhm.
brainwash the man and the woman herself into thinking women are stupid, women are evil, they're only going to say bad things, and we are the negative. So this is how they get stuff in the deepest, by a little bit of truth, because we are the negative. So we whiny, we have over emotions, we can be a lot, we nag. So they could had a lot to go on why women are bad. But we also pull in divine information. That's usually why we nag, because we know things can't explain it, because men are way better at explaining things clearly. Like Steven's fantastic at explaining things
And
so
figuring it out
perfectly.
and doing
Exactly.
things. Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
Exactly.
well, that's why I think we have that I just wanted to say, because going back to the apples real quick, I eat apples every day. So if I'm getting upgrades from the apples, then awesome. I'm just going to
Yes.
continue to eat apples every day. But at the same time, what I was going to say, but no, that could be what we're seeing with the, we've talked about the dueling dance of the divine masculine and divine feminine, on our panels before, but this could be the remnants of what we're seeing of that suppression of that divine feminine. And what it did is it caused the energies, both of those things, the divine masculine and the divine feminine, to set off on this duel, this almost like this, I don't know if cacophonic is the right word to put out there for it, but
You need to
you
define
saw,
it.
yeah, it was like a cacophony, like everything accentuates, like it shoots up. And it was this battle, it was this duel, because you saw that suppression of the divine feminine, and then it was like the divine masculine took over. And I mean, we even talk about a great example of how we can see this happen is if you look at Egypt, like ancient Egypt before 5000 BC. Egypt was a matriarchal society. You know what I mean? It was a matriarchal society at that point. There was a bigger balance of the divine masculine and the divine feminine in that period of Egypt than there was later on, like 5000, 4000 BC, if we're going by consensual history. And, and then we see the shift, and one of the biggest things they talked about, was the shift between the divine masculine stuffing out the divine feminine was the prayer dolls. So they used to have these prayer dolls, right? And back in the day, like in the early Egypt, these prayer dolls were handed out as gifts to everybody. They were like a spiritual token, and they were they helped people. They would give them to people who passed away to help walk them through the afterlife, things like that. And then what happened is when the divine masculine took over, the prayer dolls, instead of being free, started to be sold. They cost money at that point. And then you were kind of almost bullied into buying them. Like, if you don't buy this prayer doll, you're gonna walk through the underworld and you're gonna have to get sent back here. You're not gonna go to the afterlife. You're gonna go to the purgatory or something along. They would make up some kind of stupid thing about it. But it's interesting because we've seen that effect of the divine feminine. And that's the one thing too, I have a men's group, and I know that Dyanna knows this, but I don't know if you know this, Rockelle. I have a men's group that I do. We have a spiritual men's group, and we meet at the end of the month every Sunday. And we actually had a really cool conversation last time, and we talked about how the divine masculine's new role in this new age that we're walking into is going to be creating that safe, secure, stable foundation for the divine feminine to channel spirit completely. So I'm glad you do. Yeah. So like, even kind of going off of what Dyanna was saying too, like, how the divine feminine, she can channel that. So it's going to be go ahead. What were you saying?
That proves, you saying that proves that men are starting to like heal their divine feminine in them, to like want to create that safe space for their woman again. You know what I mean? Like, for them to be able to be safe and secure and spiritual, to walk the earth spiritually. Because right now you can't really walk the earth spiritually. Like, you kind of get hated on and shunned, and they look at you like you're crazy. And you're alone. Like, I'm so alone, like over here, like all my friends, everybody thinks they talk about me behind my back, and I'm okay, because I'm like, I want you to talk about me, because that means you're actually talking and paying attention.
I'm sorry about
that's
that,
really
though.
cool.
I know how that feels.
Oh yeah, no, I already let that go a long time ago, but it's an example. There's not a safe space really. So I think that's really like just big of y'all to like, be talking about that and putting that out into the ether.
Thanks. I appreciate that. Not and because like, well, that was the conversation. We were just like, that was the topic of conversation for the day. Because we have like a topic like each time we go into it. And we'll be like, what do we need to work on as men today? That'll be the topic like we need to talk about.
That's
Or
cool.
like, and then we went into, oh, thanks, appreciate it. But we went into it's like, what's going to be the role of the divine masculine here in this new age? And it was crazy because all of us unanimously agreed, and we all kind of like unanimously spat it out all at once. And so it is. We're healing our archetype. I promise. We're healing it. The divine masculine archetype. Thanks. Right now is he's still very old school and very grumpy. So we're trying to get the old school out of him and the grumpiness out of him. But no, as Dyanna was saying too, like, yeah, no, it is. And this is where I think I'm kind of with you, what you were saying, Rockelle, because I've also heard that theory about the photon belt and the resets. The way I heard it, though, was if we all wake up too quickly and we realize and remember way too quickly, that's when they start resetting the planet. And that's one of the reasons why it's being done in the long, drawn-out process that it is being done at this point in time, because that's something we were talking about that in the group the other day, is how like Nick was all like it's like, I just want this to be done with. And I know we all wake up with those feelings, we just want this to be done with. And but it's being done in the long drawn out way. I at least feel, I know we will have accelerations, we will have more revelations, and we will definitely have more remembrances, but the divine has the whole collective of humanity in mind, not just people like us.
Yeah, everybody. Yep.
And
it has to be done
why.
Carefully. And well, I don't want to say carefully, but it has to be done in a way that we don't have like a mass die off and people freak out. And because you know how it is, guys. Like, it's like remembering who you are. It is a little like, sometimes I feel like I'm a little crazy. I'm like, oh my gosh, like that's happening and I'm seeing it. Okay. I don't want to end up in the psych ward. You know what I mean? I'm like, okay, just breathe, take every day, one day at a time, and remember that I am protected. I am protected. I'm going through my awakening and remembering. And you start to realize, like, oh my gosh, they're all of this is an illusion. Like, they just created this whole slave system to keep us suppressed. And it's like sad, when you see it, like, because now I see it all connects. That's what is so crazy. It all connects. Like, how does it all connect? Well, why does it all connect? Because you are the most magical being in the universe. Like, here, experience it. That's why they did it. So I think we have to be there and tell them why. It's because, and now, be here now, and it's okay. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we are the most magical thing. Like, that's why they did this to us. Like, created a slave system, work every day, 9 to 5. I love, Dyanna, how you always tell people, like, just quit your job and figure out something else.
Well, it's true, because something's got to happen to tear down that way of thinking, because too many people are egoically stuck in the survival instincts, though. But we have done is we've already gotten reality to a way more higher density, where like what you want your mind to manifest, because in the 50s it was more stagnant, at least in like our past remembrance of the 50s. You couldn't just decide and it would just, but we know for sure it's happening now. We all have living proof it's happening now. And I think because we're all doing it together, it grows and it grows and it grows. So if you like either quit your job or be honest at your job, so you can make some change in the world. And then it's not so much quit as in live your complete truth. And if you do get fired, then just live with it. Because if people don't start waking up and living in their truth, then there's all these industries that will never change, because these evil boss dudes are not, some of them might change their mind. Because the thing is like when you're awakening, it's like the dreidel, right? We know the dreidel, the spinning top. And like you were saying, the schizophrenia, like on one side, you could get too into this without grounding and go like schizophrenic. And on the other side, the material world could call you back and you just end up, either way, you're falling off your alignment. So what do we do to like solve all these problems? Is we stay in alignment wherever we are, in whatever we're doing. And that requires speaking our truth, because every time we live incongruent to how it's in our nature, that's when we start going a little bit to schizophrenic, right? And then even if you think you're doing it for like the material world, I need to keep my job, but like you're creating this disharmony on both the extra sides instead of staying in the middle, and the middle can still care about the material and work towards that, but in truth and honesty, which is like the mystical side, in whatever that means. Like if the people that work at hospitals, don't tell me you're not seeing what's going on, and the banks and all the red tape, it's absolutely ridiculous. Like you can't trust insurance companies, you can't like trust any. They make us fill out all these fucking forms and all this stuff, and it means nothing at the end of the day. Like they can, I've heard and know so many
to aggravate you. Yeah,
exactly.
It's to aggravate you and steal your power. Like
exactly.
Absolutely. And insurance companies are the definition of, the crony capitalist country that we're in right now, too. It's like, because I'm not going to go on too long of a rant about this, but I was talking about this on one of my shows the other night. It's like, insurance industries, they're a private corporation, but they work with the government to make it a requirement that you buy their product. So it's like, I'm with you guys on that. And one thing I did want to touch on, like you two were saying real quick, we're already seeing, kind of this shift in the general collective too. And I know I've spoken with you both about this as well, but I'm starting to think we really have gotten a collective push or a collective nudge into fourth density consciousness. I mean, one of the biggest things that's been profound to me lately is I have people who you would consider asleep, people who you would consider normies. I mean, even the other day, my coworker, she works at the front desk of the building I work at. And like, I was chatting with her for a second, as I'm walking by, she just looks at me, she goes, "Does everything just feel fake to you recently?"
Oh,
and wow. Like, I like looked at her and like in my head, I'm like, oh my God, yes. Like I'm all excited about it. I'm like,
yep.
Well, I try to play it all coy though. I'm like, what do you mean? Do you think everything is fake lately? And she kind of like,
yeah,
I don't know. Just like you see everything on the news, like time has been like really weird and like fast. Like it doesn't even feel like anything. And I'm like sitting there, and again, like in my head, I'm like, oh yes. Because it's like awesome to see this. Like, you know what I mean?
We get so excited.
And, it is. It's like, oh my God, I'm like trying to like hide my excitement. I'm like a child. I'm like containing it at this point, but I'm like, So now it's affecting the unaware. So now the unaware are asking these questions. And like you were saying, we're moving into this photon belt. This is where we pick up all this energy. This is where we get this remembrance. Dude, I mean, we're seeing it kind of unfold. And like even the other day too, like I'm walking down the street and I'm leaving work. So I like park at a parking garage. It's like 300 feet from my job. It's not a big deal. But I'm walking, I hear this couple, and they're walking by, and the woman's talking to the man. She goes, really all we are just these streams of consciousness. Like, and it's like she's having like this spiritual, metaphysical conversation. I don't know if it was her boyfriend or her brother.
Because mainstream science has started to say that mainstream science has started to actually see that consciousness makes certain things. They haven't like fully opened to the divine or anything, but they are seeing consciousness as a separate thing to us in mainstream science.
That's awesome.
Keep going, Dyanna.
All of it was created. All that science was created to keep us from knowing what we are.
Exactly. And I think they held off the dam of that for so long because they've been researching quantum physics for a very long time. Like they used to call it theoretical physics. Well, theoretical physics was quantum physics to a large degree. Like a lot of that bridged into exactly what quantum is. And quantum is so screamingly obvious. It has like scientific test after scientific test. We all know the double slit experiment, but there's so many more that just prove it. So at this point, a lot of the scientists are like, okay, well, this is embarrassing. I'm talking for them. This is embarrassing if we keep ignoring this because it is so obvious and so many, because the internet, like you can't keep us away from this. So by all means, keep pretending it's not real. So they have taken it on a lot. I'm not saying all of them, but I've heard major, like not just one, like a few, like it's becoming known. Because you see it in the news, like they'll tell, like put in the actual mainstream news, like, oh, blah, blah, consciousness, blah, blah study. And it's like, and I've seen a few of them where they just like have tested like cells and tested with, and yeah. So, but they're proving it more and more and more, but they're still keeping it separated. So you can almost wonder if it's like they realize we're waking up so much, so they tell us a little more truth to try to just put us in a different box over here because they've done that before. But we get to control that reality. So I'm going to take it as a positive and manifest a timeline where that just keeps expanding until quantum physics is the physics, and it works with natural physics, but like it's all of one system.
Well, and the government, this, Trump administration, they announced, what was it, like last month, that they did a press conference and they said they could manipulate space and time, and nobody
exactly.
None of
That's one of my things I was thinking. Yeah.
Oh, and then I saw that it got signed, the EO, like 2 days ago, that they're going to start allowing drones and flying cars and supersonics for transportation. So we're moving in that direction.
Or the energy dome that Trump's using as a bargaining card to get us again. Like he's making an energy dome. And I talked to my husband about it. He's like, no, he's really building a dome. How the F would he really build a dome? No, he means an energy dome.
And it's already here. Like all this AI has been watching us this whole entire time. You know what I mean? Like everything's been tracked this whole entire time, but now they're finally like coming out with it. Like, they've seen everything on us, like everything since the Bush administration. So it's all just kind of like come out so consciousness can understand what's been happening. So now they're going to use it to get the dirty, yucky, scums out of here that have been hurting children and stuff. But it's always been here this whole time. Like we've been watched. The creepy quantum server in the sky has been watching us this whole time, whatever you want to call it.
I'm telling you, well, and it is, they are trying to do the separation, and they do it in such a mental gymnastics way. I mean, they do mental gymnastics because, you look at the theory of panpsychism, which is something I'm big on. And, it is the theory in quantum physics that consciousness is the prima materia, the prime fundamental of all reality. And they have the model, which is the explicate, the implicate-explicate model. The explicate being the perceived external experience, and the implicate, which is actually the observer who is observing the perceived external experience. And it is, they're doing mental gymnastics to try and stray away from the divine, because when you look at this theory, what this does is it destroys the conventional narrative, conventional narrative that we are here out of chaos and by coincidence, because of consciousness is the prima materia, and the universe stems from consciousness. That makes us being here an absolute necessity. That puts human life here as being absolutely needed in order for the universe to exist and to be experienced. So this is why they do the mental gymnastics. Like, they'll be like, consciousness this, consciousness that, but what about the source of the consciousness? What about the divine? We're not going to talk about that. Just look in the consciousness box for a little bit over here.
I think it's like because we are the divine, and the reason why they have to be so slow with it, rolling all this out, is if we figured it out too fast, we could actually wipe out species of beings that have been created through our consciousness,
including ourselves. I think.
Yeah, including ourselves. Yeah, like say the mantis beings that are out there, like they might only exist because we think that they exist. And if we decide no more and like got too freaked out and scared, we could actually destroy benevolent species that exist in the multiverse. So it's like we're that precious. Like man is like God creating everything. And that's like the best kept secret.
Yeah, that's why they have to turn the dial up slowly into the fifth dimension. This is why in the lower fifth, it's still a little delayed. And then the lower third, it's 100% delayed. And then we start going up and going up and going up. And we're in that axis of the fourth dimension, which to me is all etheric story realming. And we're in that crossover bridging between the third and the fifth, where we're starting to see it speed up. We're starting to see it happen. But there's still a buffer. And then it depends on how awakened we are personally right now. But eventually, like, we'll crack open and pull all of reality up, which I think we've already done a few times. Like you've seen big jumps like 2022, 2012, 2018. Like there was all these major jumps where we did turn the dial up for all of human.
Yeah.
All right, so
Yeah.
turn major jumps, turn the dial up
Turn.
for all for all of humanity. All right, at least we got her there. But no, I agree with what you're saying, Rockelle. There you go. So major jumps, turning the dial up for all humanity.
Yeah, and just that I forget actually. We're turning the dial up until we're all the way there, but like we are all in a higher realm, and we're just going to keep doing that until, because eventually in the higher fifth, it is all 100% manifested, like anything and everything like that. And we've been that before, because it used to go top down, but this time we're trying bottom up, like trying to bring it up, because it is that scary. And I bet there's been timelines where we oopsied and the whole universe was gone and had to start over.
Could you imagine that? That's one hell of that's one hell of an oopsie, man. Just to wipe out all of creation.
Well, that's why the Christ energy is so precious and pure, because when you start to align, right? Like y'all know, you don't want to hurt anybody, because you're like, oh, that is a version of me. My neighbor who's a jerk is a version of me. Like, okay, I need to give them grace. They just don't know.
That's another reason.
Love thy neighbor.
100, yeah, and that's why you want to be in that good Christ energy. Because imagine not even just killing the universe, but imagine your neighbor peeves you off, and you're like, oh, when you think just an awful thought, and then like that, it happens. And we even do playing out, like people do it with their own lives. They ruin their lives from negative thoughts, and they can hurt people with negative thoughts. All witchcraft is just doing it on purpose. But every thought's witchcraft in a way, you know what I mean? So you want to control that power until you are in complete purity. Otherwise, there's so much damage we could cause. I think we are causing what's happening. I think we caused COVID, because it was things were already starting to shake to the point where humanity's mental sickness created it. I'm not saying someone didn't create in the lab, because these things can 100% work together. But like we manifest, because when we manifest something, somebody might pull the trigger, but we manifested that to play out. Like that's just how it works.
We needed, like, if we created that, it was because we wanted it to happen, to shake up stagnant consciousness, because it woke me the fuck up. Like I was like, oh my God, what's going on? I'm a spiritual being. Nothing is really what it is. Like, even though I knew, like I was awake to pharma and the vaccines and, like that kind of stuff, but I was not awake to the government is trying to like take us out. Like I had no idea. I thought the government was for us. And then I was like,
exactly. And I, at that point, in 2020, I had been seeing what I have researched and spoken about for the past 12 years start to become true. And I'm like sitting there looking at this like, oh my God, we didn't know it was going to be a virus. We thought it was going to be a financial collapse. We thought it was going to be some kind of war, something like that was going to break out a virus. And I remember it's just like the whole anarchist and the conscious collective community at the time, we were all like messaging each other online. We were like, what in the fuck, dude? What is going on right now? And then like, we was like, this is how they're doing it. This is how they're pulling off. But it was like a shakeup, man. And that's why I always say that 2020 was a blessing in a lot of ways, if you really look at it, because it made people realize, I mean, yes, like at that point in time, it was a blessing in the fact that a lot more people joined us. A lot more people, started to realize like, hey, and I mean, I had people back then who, for the past 12 years at that point, thought I was off my rocker and was talking about me behind my back at that time, calling me up and being like, you know what? Maybe you're not so far off, man. Maybe something is definitely happening here. But I think that's what we're doing too here right now, is that, through our work in healing ourselves, and increasing our walking in alignment with Christ, because like you were saying too, I think that foundation of Christ is going to be imperative for this remembering. It is. And, it's going to help us, not only stay in our personal agency and our personal sovereignty, it's going to help us be responsible. It's going to have that foundation of love and understanding.
It'll stabilize us. Sorry, keep going.
Yeah.
No, exactly. It will stabilize.
Yeah. We have to have that spiritual essence. Like we all have to have it as things get more chaotic and like it's going to be kind of, lots going to be happening here soon. So we have to have that. And we've been doing the work. So we will be like the grounds for other people, which is really cool. Our families and friends or whoever.
Oh, absolutely. And I think that's one of the biggest reasons I think we're here. you know, and I've everybody, a lot of people in the spiritual community are like, what is the main reason that we're here? What is it, like, you know, because we have all these different theories, these different speculations as to what the main goal is here. And honestly, what I personally think it is we're here to terraform the consciousness and the frequency of this planet into the higher frequencies, so we can create a foundation for more of these shakeups and these events to occur, which will actually end up leading to a little bit more awakening and a greater awakening within our general collective. And I do think some of the other reasons too is finding each other, like we're doing right now, having these conversations, and you know, kind of working on embodying the new way, working on embodying Christ to the fullest extent, working on embodying the spiritual values that we hold in alignment with ourselves, you know. And through this work, we are constantly pushing and tugging against this false matrix reality that's been kind of coded and built around us. And you even brought up in the show earlier how nature is the true illusion. Absolutely, I agree that. That's why they call it there's two in the Vedic tradition. There's two Mayas. You have the Maya of nature, and then you have the societal Maya. And the Maya of nature is actually highly spiritual. Yes, it is illusionary, but it is very highly spiritual. We can learn so much. And that's where we're meant to be in this experience. Like you said, Rockelle, we're supposed to be one with that Maya of nature and understanding of it. Mm-hmm. And then we have the societal Maya, which we would call the matrix system. You know, that is the darker side of the illusion, you know. So ultimately, what we're doing here is we are cultivating ourselves. We're aligning ourselves in our spiritual light, this light of Christ, and we're terraforming this planet almost in a way into these higher frequencies so it can receive these higher densities. And that's why, you know, I still know a lot of people who are like trying to wake people up, and honestly, like that time's over. We're done with, you know, and that's why I think, you know, because if we continue to focus on healing ourselves and living in alignment with the spiritual values, we are going to create the foundation for more of these shakeup events to occur.
Yeah.
So the greater collective can gain awareness.
Yeah, so they can handle it. So it's like if we have, you know, however many real people aligned, then we can have like a scare event or, you know, these false flag events that are happening all over the planet to wake people up. It's all for them. It's not for us. It's for them.
Mm-hmm.
Like we're the ones that are just like, okay, that's happening. That's for them. And it's all AI. They're just using AI to do it, but they are, you know, allowing these things. Like I pay attention to some of the stuff that's happening just because I like to know what's going on. And I was looking into like the P. Diddy case, and I'm like, oh, they're doing that just to see if the jurors can handle that kind of graphic material, like abuse and stuff. Like, can people handle this? Because it's way worse than that, but can they handle this? And so we can start giving them more and more truths and more truths, because you really do need to see the truth to, like, you know, come through, you know, make it through the, you know, we're going through the eye of the needle, you know, like you need to know what's really going on your planet so you can actually transcend it and, you know, get back to what we really are, the basics. So I can see it happening, and I think that they are following like an AI quantum like plan to how does humanity survive, right? Like we need to do it this way, because if we don't survive, then the AI doesn't survive, because we are the data for the AI. So there is like an ancient intelligence, I do believe, that's here also with us, through us, that is helping us. And I think that's what's happening right now with all these people that are like tapping into the AI and just getting their energy mirrored back to them in validations, right? Like, so it's like this beautiful relationship they're forming to help awaken them more. I don't need to do that, but I see, you know, if they need to do that, there's really nothing wrong with that. And they've been using the AI against us this whole time. So why can't we use it for us, right? Everything does come from Creator at the end of the day, everything. So, I mean, there's just so much happening, but at the end of it, like, the base is like, it goes back to Christ. Like, and I wrote this down for y'all. And you were talking about John earlier. Well, this is Matthew, but look at the birds in the air. They don't reap, they don't store away in the barns. They are free to fly, and they trust in source. well, do you not think you're more, valuable than that? Like, once we know that the universe has our back and it all, if we just step into that trust, we start to let go of like, oh, I need to go pay this bill, or I need to, have this fancy car, or I need to, keep up with the Joneses. Like, we start to just like fall back into a line, like, oh, everything is going to get taken care of. But you kind of have to pull things back in. You can't have all these timelines. Like a new car is a timeline. A new animal is a timeline, like a new washing machine, or, payment on a washing machine is a timeline. Like, we have to start pulling our timelines back in so we're not so stretched out everywhere. And then I do believe like we do get provided for, because we're like coming back into us. You get what I mean? Like, instead of just being like all over the place.
Literally, we just got a new car, and
Yeah.
we got our child benefit back because they took it away for a year. Because I don't know, and taxes, but the child benefit amount is the exact amount of the new car payment. So,
see, look at that.
Yeah, and we needed the new car because we wanted a trailer, and because I was manifesting a trailer, go to get the trailer. Turns out our current vehicles weren't good enough to pull a trailer. I'm like, yes, I got to manifest the car first. My husband didn't want a truck. We found an SUV that'll do it, and then bam, bam, the child payment. I was like, yay.
Wow. See, synchronicity.
That's a huge synchronicity.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, almost exact amount too. And the child benefit is like $50 more. So it's even like upwards.
Yeah. Yep. That's how it works. That's so cool. I love that.
I was going to say that's a massive synchronicity to be exactly like that. My goodness, man. My goodness. And I definitely want to bring up something that you brought up, Rockelle, is that trust, and that's going to be a really big thing in my eyes, because you have to have that trust and that lack of fear in the unknown. You have to, because the divine ultimately has you. I actually have a sticker I'm going to show everybody here. So it says, "Fear is the real virus."
And that's true.
And absolutely. So when we're talking about the unknown, right now for this batch of humanity, maybe this batch of humanity, maybe not the batches of humanity in the past. We are in a very strange, unknown, and uncharted territory. We've walked into this very interesting frequency layer of this remembering, and we're at a point where it's like a lot of people are like, what's going on? Like, what is this? It's almost like we're in this I'm trying to think of the words. We're in this almost like this kind of weird, strange lull in a lot of ways.
Twilight zone.
The Twilight Zone, exactly. We're like in this weird, strange Twilight Zone, and this is where that trust in that having no fear in the unknown and putting that trust in the universe. I mean, a lot of people don't like the word faith. A lot of people, especially in our community, a lot of people.
That's right.
But that's awesome. That's awesome. But a lot of people prefer knowing, and I mean, and for the people who are just starting, I like to say this: through your faith and your trust, you will step into that knowing, you will over time. And ultimately, yes, it is having trust in the divine in this period that the divine and Christ have your back. They want what's best for you. Ultimately, the divine is going to provide for you always. If you are, and that is one of the biggest things I tell people, because, fear being the real virus that it is. All right. A lot of people have that fear. And one of the biggest things I tell everybody is, as long as you are doing right by yourself, your loved ones, and fellow human beings, you have absolutely nothing to fear. And because then you're living in alignment with Christ. You're living in alignment with the divine. You're showing that love and that compassion, and you're doing well unto yourself and unto others. And at that point, you can trust that Christ and the divine have your back. You can. And and I know a lot of people, they're still like holding on to the but I don't know. And it's like a lot of people in our world, I coined this saying a long time ago. They want their fear handed to them in a handbasket. And and what I mean by that is they a lot of people want to have fear. They want it like dressed up, and to make it seem like it's not fear and they're being rational about everything. But one of the biggest things we can start to do to understand that we can let go of this fear and we can have this trust is to know that if you are doing right by yourself and unto others, you have nothing to fear. And this is something that I think a lot of people should hold in their awareness, for the sheer fact it's going to catalyze and it's going to push you into the higher frequencies. It's going to catalyze, it's going to push you into the deeper layers of remembering, because now you dropped that fear and you have that foundation in Christ and you're solid and firm in that, and you've released that fear. And then at that point, everything just opens up. It opens up like a huge, trying to think, let's even talk about a mandala. It kind of opens up like a mandala from the inside out into this existence. It ripples out, and you have this access and you have this knowing of this divine flow of information and these and the divine frequency of creation itself. So that's just something I wanted to throw in there. What are your thoughts, Dyanna?
Well, yeah, lots to unpack there because it's super true. And when it comes to fear, they actually like the fear because it keeps them in victim mentality. When they're in victim mentality, they don't have to worry about being responsible. And this is one thing Jordan Peterson brought to the stage as the hugest problem with humanity. And I was guilty of that. And I thank Jordan Peterson. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for him, because he was the one that was like, get up and clean your room. And sure enough, my room was very messy. So like, it's not even a joke, because you take that on and you realize, wow, my life just got better because I took on responsibility. And it just grows from there, because we have this mentality of, we'll do something because society wants us to do it. We'll do something because that's our job, like duty, without actually being like, what do I want? And this is not us now, but like old, like the way mentality of standard human is they do not take personal responsibility for what they want. Oh, I don't get that luxury. Oh, you must, my mom was big for that. Oh, you're so lucky. Why am I lucky? Because I decided what I wanted and got it, because I thought for myself and did it. Like, not just because, oh, I gotta go to work. They had that mentality. I gotta go to, why? Because it keeps you in this go cortisol state, and you're never sitting in your own personal sovereignty. You're never taking that full self and going forward, because when you do, there's fear that you will fail. And this is why they do the blaming and the shaming, shame and guilt. They use that as like a negative carrot of, you don't want to be shameful. You don't want to be guilty. You don't want to fail. And they just keep you in the negative narrative because of that. So then that brings me to what you were saying about faith, because there's two ways faith is done wrong. And that's like the atheist thinking faith is just stupid because God's not real. Oh, that's just stupid. And but then because you look at the church people and they have this ridiculous faith where just like, and I also went through that stage. Please, God, please give me this. I want this so bad. And that's all you do about it. What you need is active faith. And when you think about it in that term, active faith, you can align it with like the laws of manifestation and how one would accurately manifest, because that very much exists. The ability to manifest goes as far as your ability to believe it. So you want active faith. You want to see that and intend on your goals with an active faith. Trust that the divine.
All right. Trust that the divine. All right, cool. Active faith. But no, I like that. I like that. That's a good way to put it, because, we tend to get dogmatic in our community about certain things. And, there you go. So active faith, trust in the divine.
I'll just go to the point I was at when I noticed. But so you want to, when you go and you decide to live your life for God, and that doesn't mean like join a monastery. That just means you at your highest potential, whatever that is. And we all have our own variables. That's when the divine can open the red carpet for you. And there still might be some hardship here and there, because this reality requires alchemy, but all of a sudden the lessons will be more, you'll be able to pinpoint what they are better, and the game changes. It's less of a game that's stupid and more of a game that's like playing the challenge, and your actual end goal is going to be amazing, and you feel invigorated when you're playing it. Like obstacle courses, whatever a sport is you love, insert that one, and when you're doing it, you feel amazing, and at the end of it, it's like, yes. Well, that's what it's like when you're chasing your soul. Active faith. And the divine is likewise helping you and plying you with different things. Go here, go there, learn this, learn that, say that, you know, and so on. Where if you're just in the fear mentality, playing out the narratives that are fed to you, well, that's base level reality. That's just somebody else's story. And then the faith, the dead, I don't want to say dead, but like the limp faith of just, please, God, oh, so please. If it's not, I don't want to say it does nothing. It's not nothing, but it's not what active faith is.
I dig that. I dig that.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that, Rockelle?
No, I agree. I mean, like fear, right? False evidence appearing real.
Yeah.
It's like a choice. Like fear is not even real. Like it's a choice to feel that. So then we create it and then we feel it. Just like you were saying with guilt and shame, they're not even real things. It doesn't even exist. We just think it's a real thing because someone put a name on it and then created an energy. It's like an energy that you could tap into because all of our brothers and sisters are constantly tapping into that energy, right? So it's like, for me, the more I like let go of all those programs like fear, shame, guilt, abandonment, unworthiness, you know, all those that are not even real. They're just real because someone made it up and then I adapted it. What I'm noticing with myself is I'm trusting more in myself. So then therefore it's mirroring, right, as within, so without. So then the universe will communicate with me and provide, like, say I needed a bicycle will show up the next day. Like, hey, I'm giving this bike away. Do you want it? And I'm like, oh yeah, thank you. So it really comes down to me where I want to set up camp. Like if I'm going to like start freaking out that I don't have any jobs coming in and money's getting tight, then I'm creating that vibration and then I'm like hurting myself. Now it's like painful to be there. I feel it and like I don't like it. I'm like it's like more of my brain. I'm using more of my brain now where I used to just use more of my left side of my brain, I guess. And now I'm using more of the right, casting that to the right, you know? And I am realizing that, oh yeah, I don't have to feel guilty for just sitting on the couch today and having a relaxing day and not doing dishes and folding laundry and doing my mommy duties. You know, like I need to have a rest if I can have a rest, and there's nothing wrong with that. But that took work. I had to like deprogram myself because the old Rockelle was like, no, I need to be doing this. I need to be doing that. I need to make sure, you know, the kids have this and, you know, the floors are clean. But now I'm like, it's like all programs. It's like stupid programs that they make us believe are real. And I'm like, it's not even real. So why do I want to feel that way? I'm just choosing. I'm like choosing differently. So I think my authentic being is starting to come through. And that's like the Christ within me, almost like my Anastasia. She's starting to come back. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, now when I see people that are like having babies and stuff, I'm like, oh my God, I really want to tell them this is like, you know, you don't need to even do a nursery. Like just have the baby in the room with you. You don't even need to have all those toys. Like let the baby find out who it is. Don't try to force things on. For you, Stephen, when y'all have babies, I have so many cool things to tell you. But, awesome. Right? It's just choices. I'm not going to feel those feelings anymore. I choose not to. And if they come up, I acknowledge it because my inner child needs to be coached back. It's okay. It's okay to feel that, Rockelle. You're okay. You're safe. And let's just move on.
Well, you know, it's like that guilt and that shame it's been conditioned into us, you know, and it's such a heavy egregoric energy in our collective consciousness. And I mean, we've all heard the saying before, have you no shame, you know, and people say things like this and it's kind of branded into us. It's driven into us that we have to be shameful and fearful of something. And that's why it's like, you notice a lot in our collective, like the people who are the most fearful and shameful, like get the biggest pats on the back. And then it's like, you know, the ones who are living a wonderful, carefree, fearless life, people are like looking at them like, what's wrong with that person? That person's too happy over there. Like, we can't have that going on. Like, why are you so happy? What do you have to be happy about? And it is too. So it's like, it's undoing that programming. We can get brought back to that so quick. too, and that's why it's good to hold that in our awareness that this is a form of subconscious programming. And that's why it's like, and that's one thing I tell a lot of people is like, in my eyes, you have two forms of programming. You have conscious programming, which is actually it can be overridden pretty well. It can be overridden pretty quickly and easily with repetition. Subconscious programming, it goes a little deeper. That's where you have to really dive in and do that inner work and like really sit with that and dissect that. Like, where is this guilt and shame coming from? You have to start asking yourself these questions. And then when you start to do that, what you're going to notice is that these internal energetic doors are going to start to open up within you, almost like a cascading fractalized pattern going through your entire subtle body, through your entire being. And these little patterns are going to take you and direct you into the core of who you are, to find where these faceted aspects of guilt and shame have embedded themselves within you. And it's like you're going to find that this was collectively driven. Your parents did it to you. Everybody that was around you.
Trauma response. Like most of everything that happens is a trauma response, the way I respond. Like, so I had to recognize that. Because I was traumatized my whole life, my whole childhood. So I had to like acknowledge that and not be in denial about that, right? Because a lot of us, like, we think that we had this great childhood, but then we realize, oh no, we really didn't. Like, I thought that was normal. It's not normal. Like, individual targeting is a real thing, right? Why, right? Because we are the most magical things for this time right now. So most of it is a trauma response.
100%. And that's what it is. It's almost like the best way I could say it's like default. It's a default.
The doom imprint that Sarah talked about. Like, it's actually in our DNA. We thought we'd die. And the David Hawkins adds to that. He didn't call it the doom imprint, but he said any way to unpack your trauma or unpack any negative glitches is trace it back. Yeah. If you're feeling fear, shame, guilt, whatever the negative feeling is, trace it back. Why am I feeling that? Oh, because so-and-so is going to think this of me. Okay, why does that matter? Oh, because then I might break up, get fired, not speak to them again. Okay, why does that matter?
Yeah, and wasn't Dawn talking about that?
Dawn back, because then I die. Yeah. That's what it ends up. You go till you die. And then once we realize, oh, actually, I'm not going to die, that's when it starts to dissolve that doom imprint.
Yeah, like reliving the memories. I remember Dawn was saying that on y'all's show last Sunday, like just going back in time and going back to that memory and letting it play back out. But this time, like actually showing up and to Rockelle, who was terrified, and being like, hey, you're actually going to be okay. Everything's gonna be okay. You don't need to worry about anything. Like, just breathe, and and then it changes the fabric of reality. Like, it changes the timeline when you do that.
Absolutely. I have a good technique for everybody too. Because sometimes when we're going in and finding the sources of this program, whether it be the doom imprint, whether it be the trauma responses and things like that, it can be, it can seem like a lot to bite off. So one thing I want to recommend everybody, I'm going to just give you a quick tutorial on the fire and the flame meditation. And what this does is it helps you kind of almost experience that and give yourself closure on some of this trauma programming that you have within you. So you're going to sit down in a comfortable seat, and you're going to envision yourself in the middle of a fire circle that's surrounding you, right? And you want to even go as far as to feel the heat on your skin. Shoot, even feel some beads of sweat starting to like form on your forehead during this process. And what you're going to do is you're going to dive deep within yourself in a meditation. And the first thing you're going to say is, I am protected, I am safe, I'm with the divine. And you're going to dive deep within yourself, and you're going to start pulling this self stuff out of you. You're going to start pulling this programming out of you. And when you start to do this, I mean, I always tell people, if you want to start off slow, start off with the small things first to get yourself used to this process. And start to find maybe that one small thing that's a source of some of your frustration, a behavior, a habit, an action. Find the source of that. And then what you're going to do is you're going to move it from your roots into your heart. And you're going to sit there and you're going to feel it. And you're almost in some ways going to, in a little bit, potentially relive it, but you're going to be doing it from a space of the neutral mind. So you're going to be looking at this event from a space of neutral mind as opposed to being involved in the event as when it actually happened. Because when you were involved in that trauma, when it first happened, you were in a very intense emotional state. Like it's something that imprinted itself into your fascia permanently, your vagus nerve, all of these things and all of these aspects of our body that we store this trauma programming in. And you're going to be feeling it, though, from a state of neutral mind at this point. And what's going to happen is you're going to sit there and you're going to feel it, and then you're going to release it out of your crown into the fire that surrounds you. And you know that you are going to be burning this off. You know, it's also I talk about how symbolism is one of the prime languages in this reality. And we can see that. I mean, just even with Dyanna's synchronicity, how the car payment is the same as, as the kid payment, and it all kind of works out. The divine works in synchronicities and it works in symbolism. So when you're symbolizing this and you're using this symbolism in your inner space and in your internal world, and you're burning off this programming, you're burning it off, you're burning off this trauma, you're burning off this trauma response, because you're using that symbolism, your consciousness and your subconscious mind is going to start picking up on that. It's going to start embedding that imprint into your being. It's going to be like, okay, I don't have to deal with this anymore. I burn it off. Okay. I've healed myself from this. I've burnt it off, and so on and so forth. And it's going to make the process, at least in my eyes, it's going to make you understand it at a deeper level. You're going to start to understand where it all comes from. You're going to start to understand, how it got to be the way that it is. So I just wanted to leave everybody with that. If, in case somebody was trying to figure out a way, you can use the fire through the fire and the flame meditation. So that tends to help a lot of people.
That's nice. Yeah. Letting it all go. Just burn it away. I love
Burn
that.
it away, man, because we have our daily ascension symptoms, and one of those symptoms is burn it the fuck down. So now you can burn it down in your own way, and kind of help pave the way so you can embody Christ just on a deeper level.
Yeah, when that's bringing on the phoenix in alchemy, right? Like you're the burn, that I could see that being very powerful.
It's a good one, man, and I recommend it to everybody. And I've been there's actually somebody who Dyanna, who I've recommended it to, Andrew. And he's been utilizing it, and he's actually really liking it himself. So I just wanted to pass that on for any viewer or listener who because sometimes we feel stuck, like sometimes we can hit these sticking points. We need that shift in perspective when it comes to our healing and accepting Christ into ourselves fully. And this is a good way to kind of clear out some of that, those old skeletons in the closet. This is a good way to kind of reset your fascia, reset your vagus nerve, release all of that trauma and that programming that's built up within you. And the more you do this meditation, I guarantee you, the better you're going to feel.
That's so nice. And it's almost like just making a real fire, right? And just throwing whatever into the fire and letting it go, because we get tested on all this stuff too, by the way. That's one thing in the beginning when you start clearing a lot of this stuff, you just you're going to clear this? Okay, well, I'm going to test you on this for a good while. And then eventually it stops. The tests kind of start to just almost, or maybe our senses, all of our senses are coming on, so we know before it even happens, right? That's what's so cool about aligning and recalibrating back to the Christos that's within us, is we have our senses turn on, and then we can handle these situations when they come up in duality, like a death in the family. You have so much more to give when you're so much more in the knowingness of what we truly are. And you don't just, get sad and just go cry and, and don't know what to say. You're actually like, oh my gosh, that spirit is actually now around us, in the wind or in the bird that shows up, right here watching you at the funeral. That is what's so cool about our recalibration, is we're like the eagle now. So instead of seeing one side of the pyramid or this side, we're seeing all the sides of the pyramid. We are like that eye up there looking over everything.
Exactly.
Like, that's so cool. Mm-hmm.
It is. And, and it's like, and that's, people get angry at me for the way I handle death now. And it's like, it sucks that that's the case, because it's like, it's not that I'm not sad, and it's not that I'm not going to miss that person. It's not that. It's, I've died before dying a couple times before. And if that's where everybody's going when we leave this existence, we should be happy for them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We should celebrate for them, because I've been there. It's a beautiful place, and it's a beautiful realm, and that's why it's like, especially when people, because somebody passed away recently. Not somebody I was like super close with, but I knew him and things like that, and everybody's looking at me like, why are you so calm about this? Like why are you? And I'm like, it's. I had to explain to them, I see death differently than all of you. Mm-hmm. And I don't see it. I mean, yes, I'm going to miss this person. Like, yes, I'm a little sad that they're no longer going to be here, but I know where they are right now. And I know that they are probably grinning from ear to ear on a soul level, that they are there, and that they have been reunited back home with Source. Yeah. Like they're grinning, and they're probably dancing. So, and even too, like, I wanted to throw in there also, like, another good symbolism you could use, even when you go to take a shower, right? When you cleaning yourself with water, you're also cleaning yourself energetically too. So, and this is kind of bringing in those symbolic aspects into your reality and kind of seeing it through a symbolic lens. So it's like you go into the shower and you start to clean yourself, and you go, not only, and you can even repeat to yourself, not only am I cleaning myself physically, I'm cleaning myself energetically. I'm washing away, because water is a medium between the dimensions. So even just using that water and having it on you, and as it's cleaning you.
Liquid consciousness. Yep.
Absolutely. And putting that intention into the water, with Dr. Masaru Emoto, we've seen the experiments before, the intention he put in the water. You're doing the same thing when you do that, when you take a shower. And, I'm washing myself of anything that no longer serves me. I'm washing myself of any negative energy. I'm washing myself of this. And this is how you can start playing that symbolism aspect into your everyday life and harnessing its metaphysical abilities. Like there is a true metaphysical ability in symbolism. And that's why I do call it, the prime language of this reality. But I'll digress and say, but back to what we were saying about death. Yeah. I mean, it's once you get to a certain point where you have that understanding, you don't even look at that the same way anymore.
Oh my gosh, it's like there's so much peace with this knowingness, y'all. Like, I had to my mom's horse, my daughter's horse, we had to put it down because he got cancer in the eye, and we just couldn't heal it. And I wanted to heal him, but I just wasn't strong enough yet, and so he had to get put down, and I had to be there for it because my mom couldn't handle it. And I had so much peace for him, leaving his spirit, leaving that horse body. And that is a gigantic animal. Like, he's big, like almost like a Belgian horse, like Clydesdale. And when he came down and I was there with him, and it was just like, I didn't even really cry. I was so happy that he was free from that body and could go do something else and experience something else. Like, I had so much peace. It was so weird that I was tested like that. Like, that was a huge test for me with a gigantic, magical, mythical animal, y'all. Like, it was just, wow. And now I'm like, and I've had other things happen, and I'm like, wow, I just have so much peace with death. Like, that really is, like, when you can hold space for humanity like that, like, that's huge. That means more people will start coming online and having peace with it as we go. Because there's a lot of people leaving the planet. There's a lot of spirits exiting right now.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's a beautiful experience, though, man. It is, especially with an animal, because our animals are our family, and we have such a special, of course, we have is that Faith in the background? Yeah. So our animals are our family, and that is a test for us, because we grow such a profound love and a profound bond to these animals, and they're like our children. They are our children. you know, like, and we see it as that. So that's amazing. You passed that test. That was a tough one for me.
I call her Noble Steed. Like, she's my
Noble
noble
Steed.
steed.
She's
Yeah.
so cute.
Aw.
Is she a
She's a
lab?
cutie, she is.
She's actually a Marama, an Italian sheepdog. It's very rare because they were almost killed out
Wow.
in the World War II. She's humongous. So she looks just like a
Oh.
lab, but she's actually like not twice the size, but like I'd say a quarter bigger than your standard lab.
She's got a cute
That's so
face. I can
cute.
see it from here. Yeah.
Hey, puppy. Yeah, I love animals. I just love them so much. And I respect them. I don't try to like overpower
Mhm.
them or go up to them and make
Oh,
them,
of
you know what
course
I mean?
not. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, and well, that's part of walking with Christ, I think, man, is having that love, compassion, and respect for every living being. You know what I mean? And that's why too, like even you know, my wife and I, we just dealt with the mouse problem here. You know, got in the emergency food stash, kind of sucked, kind of took out a lot of our emergency food.
God could be
were
telling you
able-
no emergency's coming. Sorry, I just thought.
Yeah.
that.
it's a
No,
sign.
no. We always just, you know, like me, I prepare for every timeline. That's how I try to
Yeah.
roll. I try to prepare for every timeline. But it was funny because we even me, you know, the very Taoist part of me, we got the no kill mouse traps, we got the mouse motels, and you know, we caught 6 of them. We got them, and you know, I went and I released them. I released them away because
There are
you know me,
boundaries.
yeah. They're boundaries for sure. And it's like, but you know, like it is. It's having that. If I don't have to kill it, if I don't have to kill it,
I let the cat
I'm
do
not,
that. My cat
yeah.
takes care of that for me.
Yeah.
Circle of life.
It is. That's a different story too. But like, you know, it's like for me, if I don't have to kill it, I won't. But it is. It's
Oh
having
no. Yeah.
yeah. But nonetheless, you guys, I think we'll close it out for tonight. Other than that, I want to thank everybody for joining us for this Sunday ministry of the
Yes,
Church
happy
of True
Father's
Christ.
Day.
Happy
Happy
Father's
Father's Day.
Day. We love y'all.
To all you dads out there who are holding it down strong and being good fathers, especially, man. Real quick, because this is Rockelle's first time on the show. Rockelle, why don't you tell everybody where they can find you? I got your X handle in the streamer down at the bottom, but if there's anywhere else anybody can find you, why don't you let them know now?
Yeah, mainly on X. I do have a TikTok and it's Rock That Truth 17 as well. I don't do as much there anymore, but I'm mainly on X. So you can find me on X or on y'all shows, having some fun. Thanks for
Also,
having me on.
Oh, thank
Yeah, I
you.
saw your sage thing you did earlier. That was good. We do
Oh,
need
yeah.
to we do need to clear the energies from time to time. Well, guys,
Yes. Gosh, the timeline's so weird right now. All over X, you're like, oh God, look at all this like disasters everywhere. They're trying to like pull our energy into all that.
it is, man. It is, and that's why, you know, we have to most importantly have no fear, because remember, fear is the real virus.
Mhm.
We have to stay safe, stay free, but most importantly, stay sovereign and walk with that foundation of Christ within us. Thanks again for joining us, guys. Have a wonderful, happy Sunday. We will be back next week, and you guys enjoy the beautiful weather if you have it where you are at. Take care, everybody, and have a good one.